Okay, class, let's go ahead and get started. I noticed there were quite a few missing GitHub links or React code within the week one assignment. I just want to show you how you get that accomplished, and then I do expect your GitHub link to be posted to this the reply of this announcement so that I can check it out. For now, if it's just a blank GitHub repository, that's perfectly fine, but I would prefer that you have the React code in there as well. So the first thing I want to show you is GitHub Education for students, and I'm just going to Google GitHub Education is how I'm going to get there. It's this first link right here. And we can see here a tool that I'm going to be using. I'm going to just click on students, but you can just join GitHub, use your .edu address, and get all signed up. But in students, you'll get access to code faster with GitHub Copilot, and I'm going to show you how I incorporate AI into my workflow as a software engineer that's been doing it for 20 years. So I get told a lot of times that I look a lot younger than I am, but I am actually almost 40. So I've been doing this for a long time. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to create a new GitHub repository. So I'm just going to sign out, start the process from the top, sign out from all accounts. Okay, I'm going to come into github.com. I'm going to sign in. I'm going to sign in with my edu email address. And then you can see a list of the repositories that I have already, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new GitHub repository. I'm going to call it INT409, INT409 project. I'm going to make it public. I'm going to share it with you within the announcement post that I'm going to make so that you can see it and you can get familiar with the code. So I'm going to go ahead and create it. Now this is just a blank project, doesn't have anything in it, and I want to bring it into my IDE, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL. Now this is a brand new PC build for me, so the only thing I have really installed is the software that I'm using to record this video. So I needed to download, you can use both GitHub Desktop or you can use the built-in Visual Studio codes. And I actually use a completely different set of IDEs called JetBrains, which you can get for free as well. JetBrains student license. So using your EDU, you can get JetBrains. I prefer JetBrains. I've been using it for a really long time. They create different IDEs for different languages. So if we look at the products that they have, I do a lot of .NET development is what I work in for professional for my job, but they also do like PyCharm for Python, C++ for Lion, and WebStorm for straight JavaScript packages like React that we're going to be doing today. I will try my best to do everything that I can in Visual Studio Code, but it is not a tool that I use very often, so it might be beneficial for you to watch me struggle through it. We'll see. But so these are the typical tools that I use, and you can see what they offer and what they're covered for. So you can just go ahead and get a student license for JetBrains for a year as well. If we come into the request now, you use your .edu email address, and it typically gets confirmed right away. I had no trouble with my .edu email from UAGC to get that license. So I'm just going to pause this while I install those. So I'll just accept the standard terms, place it into the typical folder, keep it called Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go ahead and create a desktop item. So these are contexts. So if I were to right click, it would give me open in code context options. I'm not going to add those. I am going to add it to the path for my shell scripting, and then install, and then GitHub Desktop, which I will bring up, which will come up here in a second, hopefully, is going to go ahead and get installed. I just sign into my GitHub. I open it with Chrome. I say always. I continue as this, and I go ahead and authorize the desktop, and I open it in GitHub Desktop. It gives me the information that I need. I say finish, and it goes ahead and brings up my repositories for me in GitHub. So I could go ahead and clone the repository from here, and so let's get that process started. Okay, class, Visual Studio has finished installing for me. I'm going to go ahead and set up Copilot. I'm going to have to sign in with my GitHub account. It's actually going to launch in this one. That is not what I want. I need a personal email. Let me set that up. Okay, I just changed my Chrome user person. I'm going to go ahead and try now to set up GitHub Copilot. I'm going to go ahead and try again. This time it signed into my personal, so I can go ahead and sign in here. with my personal email that I have my GitHub Copilot attached to. Don't mind if you see my personal GitHub, there is nothing really going on in there. It's all the professional that has the important fun stuff. Alright, so I am now signed in and I have got GitHub Copilot. Next thing I'm going to do is just close this up, bring back up my UAGC user, and I'm coming back here and I'm grabbing the URL to clone. Now, we could have just done it through our GitHub desktop. You just click this link and it's going to select where we want to save it to. Pretty cool. I don't want to save it to my OneDrive, but I will also show you through Visual Studio since everything can be managed through Visual Studio. We'll go ahead. This is the little GitHub link. We need to download Git for Windows. Let's go ahead and open the external site and download Git. One more thing to install since it's a fresh install. Alright, and go ahead and get Git installed. It should just take a moment, so just next through everything, let Git decide. Yep, I want to use bundled SSH, native, Windows, Unix endings, minify, TTY. I do want to fast forward or merge. My Git credentials, file system caching is great. Let's let this install. Okay, Git for Windows is successfully installed. Take me to the page. I'm just going to go ahead and download that stuff. Sorry, close that stuff. Come back here. I've got my URL. I'm coming back to Visual Studio Code. Just give it a nice little refresh. Reload. Perfect. Now from here, from my source control, I can clone a repository from GitHub. Now this will also allow me to just sign in directly to my GitHub. So let's make this my active browser once again and say allow. And then I can continue. And this is just my UGAC signed into GitHub here, open in Visual Studio Code, and it's actually going to bring down the repositories that I have, so it's very easy to clone. But I could go back and I could just paste the URL in as well, which is how I'm going to do it because it's straightforward. You may not always be using repos that belong to you, and then clone from URL. And then I just need to select location, so I'm going to go into my documents. I'm going to create a new folder here, call it repo. And I'm going to select that as my destination. And it's going to go ahead and bring my repository in. And then I'm going to go ahead and open that. And yes, I trust the author. I am the author. So now I am linked. I have the README that came from my project, and I have the blank folder structure that goes with it. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is run create React app. So I actually need to install Node.js. So Node.js is the runtime for JavaScript library that lets me run it anywhere. This is the first step when we're getting started with React. So I'll go ahead and open Node and install that. I'm just going to install it into the standard location. Automatically install the necessary tools. Now I guess I could show you what happens if I tried to do it without it. So let's go ahead and open this in Terminal. And this is me struggling with Visual Studio Code, open a new terminal. So the typical command would be something like npx create React app int 499. So the command and then the name. And it's going to fail because I don't have Node installed. So it's going to think for a while, and then it says npx is not recognized as a command, and that's because I don't have Node installed. The other common thing you might see is like npm install. It's going to tell me npm is not recognized, and that's Node Package Manager. So we'll come back here, we'll download Node.js. It looks like it is installed here. Let's go ahead and run the installer, and let that finish. Okay, Node has successfully been installed. I'm going to say finish. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to go ahead and run npm install again. It still doesn't recognize it because my system needs to be restarted at this point, I do believe, which is a little bit of a drawback. Let's just close Visual Studio and take a look. Okay, it didn't require a restart, but it does require me allowing to run scripts. So my first use of GitHub chat is just get the command that's required. So I just copied this error, pasted it into the chat, and it goes ahead. It thinks I brought the chat up by going to view chat. Oh, that hit it. View chat brings it back, and it tells me this is what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm just going to read it. So this is a PowerShell script. So I need to open PowerShell. I need to run this administrator. I get my admin PowerShell. I paste in my script, and it's set execution policy remote signed. And I'm going to say yes to all. And let's see now if I can run npm start. I can. Great. There's nothing to start, so it just throws me those errors. So the next thing I need to do is create my React app. And so let's go ahead and head on over to React. And we're just going to learn React. We're going to do installation, creating a React app, and npx create React app latest. And we typically can append a name to the end of this. So coming into my console, and I'm just going to let it be named INT499. I also actually want to create React with TypeScript. So TypeScript is a type of JavaScript that gets decompiled. So it is essentially strongly typed JavaScript, which means that our types, our properties are known by the compiler. It helps us catch errors, static typing. Helps us catch errors at compile time, which is before we run npm start, before we get into our app, so that we can see any issues that we might run into. Now, I have never done a React app with TypeScript before, so we can struggle through this together. So let's go ahead and create React TypeScript app with Vite, even better. So Vite is the bundler that we'll use. We'll kind of talk about that, but here is the template that we're going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that command. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to paste it in, and I am going to rename my React app to INT499. Okay, so we have, and we actually want npx create Vite, and it creates a React TypeScript. I'm not a huge fan of running it this way. Let's see what create React app recommends. They don't recommend anything. Here we go. All right, so this is what we're following. Perfect. They do recommend npm create Vite latest template React, and then we just appended the TS to it, which tells it TypeScript. So let's go ahead and change this back to npm create Vite template React TypeScript. Let's go ahead and create that. Okay to proceed. Yes. So the first thing that it's going to do, select framework, is React. Select the variant is, we'll just do basic TypeScript. And it's done. And so now the downfall is within the folder that I created, it created a new subfolder. So this is where I would have named it. I could go back, I could reorganize it, I could bump it up to the beginning, which is what I'm probably going to do, just because otherwise my GitHub repository is going to contain this, which leads into this, and I just want it to contain the public and the source and everything like that. So I will come back into my documents. So what I should have done is actually load it into repo and run that command. Because if I had run it from my repository directory, it would have created it correctly. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to delete, I'm actually just going to delete this whole project and start over again from my repo folder, which I thought I had created here. We go, repo. I'm going to delete this. It is in use, so I need to close Visual Studio. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go back into Visual Studio Code. Going to clone my repository, clone from GitHub this time. Since I have it, I don't need the URL. I'm going to put that in repos. I'm going to open it in this window. I'm going to open my terminal. I am going to, since I'm used to using a Mac, I believe it's change directory dot backslash. Nope. Change directory dot slash. Nope. Okay. I just need to go up directory real quick. Go up a directory PowerShell. CD dot dot. Alright, so now I'm in my repo folder, and then I can go back and I can get my npm create react template from Google's AI that it gave me here. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in, and I'm going to change it from my React app to int 499. I'm going to go ahead and say remove existing files and continue. It's just going to remove this README. And I'm going to create it as React, TypeScript, and now I am set to go. So the next thing that I'm going to do, this would be the end of setting up your GitHub repository, is I'm going to just set this as the initial commit to main. I'm going to go ahead and say init commit, and I'm going to commit this to the server. I need to stage my changes. I'm going to say yes. Since I typically don't work with staged changes, since I will only work on the files that I want to work on and send those up, and then I'm going to go ahead and push the comments to main. And then we can see it's running here. Wants me to sign back into GitHub. I will sign in with my browser. It's going to launch me here. I'm going to authorize the ecosystem. Then I can come back to Visual Studio Code. And it has successfully pushed. And I would like to periodically run fetch. That means it's just going to check the remote server to see if there are any updates. Now when I come back to my GitHub repository here and I refresh, we can see that all of my code is there. And it gives me the basic README from my React. So this is what I expect from you as far as showing me that you were able to create a React app. You don't have to create it as TypeScript. But please do this. If you have already created it, just post your GitHub link here, and then I'm going to go ahead and create another video where I'm going to work through the entire project, and I'm going to post that today. I'm going to start working on it right now, but I'm just going to end this video, post announcement number 1, ask for you to show your GitHub, and I'm going to start working on creating. I'll just work through all of the assignments so that you have an example of them. For me, they'll be in TypeScript, so perhaps I will go back and make it a JavaScript so that it matches up with what you're doing, so that it's easier. Though TypeScript and JavaScript are very much alike. You just have to define your types when using TypeScript. So that may have been a bad decision on my part. I will think about that for a little bit and then go ahead and create the video. Thank you so much.